This is part 2 of a mini-series looking back on Big City Greens season by season, charting its growth from a quaint episodic comedy slowly finding its audience to one of the biggest cartoons of the modern era, soon to dethrone Phineas and Ferb for the title of Disney's longest continuously running animated series. In this video, we'll be returning to the show's second season in order to examine how the crew continued building upon the strong foundation they laid down in season 1 by further experimenting with the types of stories they wanted to tell. If you didn't catch the previous video, I strongly urge you to give that a watch first, but in case you need a quick recap, because it has been a while.
This puzzle's impossible! What's it even supposed to be?
It's a picture called Starless Night.
Why would you pick that?
Big City Greens chronicles the life of a humble yet eccentric family of farm folk forced to move to the titular big city after their home in the countryside was repossessed. The series was inspired by the lived experiences of the show's creators, the Houghton brothers, Shane and Chris, who also voices the central protagonist, Cricket Green, an impulsive troublemaker with a good heart who constantly ends up in conflict with his hard-working and honest father Bill Green, voiced by Bob Joles. Cricket is often assisted in his various escapades by either his deeply principled older sister Tilly, voiced by Mary Eve Harrington, who tries to keep his morals in check, or his short-tempered grandmother Alice, played by Artemis Pebdani, who often conspires with her grandson and encourages his worst impulses. Over the course of the show's initial 30 episodes, we saw the family slowly acclimate to their new habitat, working through the initial culture shock and starting to make friends in the community, such as the obscenely wealthy Remy Remington and an overworked barista by the name of Gloria Sato. Thanks to its offbeat sense of humour, strong character relationships, not shying away from the financial hardships of the family, and commentary on gentrification, the show quickly set itself apart and found its unique voice, which all built up to a huge status quo change with the introduction of Cricket and Tilly's previously incarcerated mother, Nancy, played by Wendy McLendon Covey, where the series began to show more of its complexities with one of the most nuanced and healthy depictions of divorce in media. A second season of Big City Greens would be given the official go-ahead by Disney right before the series premiered, which was a fairly common practice for the studio back during the mid to late 2010s. You know, back when they actually cared about giving new shows a chance. Now, I did purchase a Big City Greens t-shirt to wear for the rest of the series, however, they sent me the wrong size, and then simply refunded me saying they didn't want it back, so... This next run of episodes would begin airing in November of 2019, about 8 months after the ending of Season 1. Now, in my opinion, a sophomore season holds the highest importance in the lifespan of a TV show. Your first season is a proof of concept, a chance for the crew to showcase their world and characters in an effort to hook in an audience. However, the second season is about building on that groundwork, establishing the show's longevity by proving these ideas can sustain themselves beyond that first pickup. Your first season gets you to your second, but your second season gets you to the end of the show, whenever that might be. All that is to say, there was a lot riding on these additional 30 episodes to prove that what came before was no fluke, and that there was endless potential for what could be done with these characters, which would secure the show's future. Season 2, at first, feels like a natural continuation from where Season 1 left off. It keeps introducing the Greens to unfamiliar concepts and seeing how they react, whether it be learning to adapt and embrace this change or taking a stand and rejecting it, but still using these ideas as a vehicle to explore the strong bonds within the family. Cricket learns to better appreciate his loved ones after switching lives with a pop star in a very Prince and the Pauper-esque scenario. The family spends a day at the beach where Nancy has to find a balance between having fun with her kids while still being a responsible parent, and the kids follow Alice for a day where they end up learning more about her life outside of the family. But it mixes these in with more subversive stories that question the show's own conventions. A recurring idea in Season 1 is how the rest of Big City's population tends to look down on the Greens, treating their presence as either an annoyance or a sideshow attraction depending on the story being told. Well, Episode 2A, Urban Legend, written and storyboarded by Monica Ray and Steve Wolfhard, directly addresses this, as Bill learns one of the reasons the neighbours keep their distance is because for years, Alice has been intentionally scaring them away by pretending to be a swamp witch.
I'm the Swamp Witch of Big City, and I eat human bones!
Nope.
To remedy this, Bill attempts to host a neighbourhood barbecue so they can get to know the family better, while Alice continues sabotaging his attempts at extending an olive branch with the help of Cricket until everyone runs away in fear. only to come back as an angry mob with the intention of burning the Greens.
Something about them threatening our lives makes it a lot less funny.
Alice relents for the sake of her family's happiness, and also their lives, by telling the neighbours the truth so they can be part of the community.
I realized I can't just think of myself anymore. I've got to compromise and do what's best for all of you. And sometimes Nancy.
Hey, I'll take it.
And from this point on, the general population of Big City are far more pleasant towards the Greens, an element that will play a role later in the season's big tentpole episode. This first batch also continues adding new members of the ever-expanding supporting cast, notably the introduction of recurring antagonist Gwendolyn Zapp, an amoral tech billionaire with no regard for human life. So, just a regular billionaire then.
I could end all the world's problems, but instead I choose to invent things like robo-pants.
Miss Zapp, we need to do a major recall on the robo-pants. Ow, 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 ow!
The character, whose off-the-wall and deranged energy is supplied by the performance of Sherry O'Terry, makes her debut in the episode Car Trouble, written and storyboarded by Charlie Gavin and Anna O'Brien. In this story, the Greens encounter Big Tech's CEO when they make a delivery to her headquarters, where she offers them her new vroom car in exchange for their old kludge truck.
I heard it blew a guy's lips off.
That's right, but we gave that man a pair of robo-lips, and now he can say any word in the dictionary. Except lawsuit.
However, and you won't believe this, the car not only looks stupid, but is entirely impractical, defective, and actively endangers its passengers. It doesn't take long for the Greens to miss their old reliable mode of transportation and want to retrieve it, only to learn Gwendolyn is planning to take the kludge to Mars. But they do manage to reclaim ownership of their beloved vehicle in the nick of time as everything returns to normal.
Oh, family, I love ya. And the kludge, too.
I love you too.
Oh my gosh, the kludge can talk?
No, it's just her leaking oil.
While this initial introduction to Gwendolyn Zapp didn't portray her as overtly evil, with the word overtly doing a lot of heavy lifting in that statement, following appearances would lay it on thick how dangerous she is, as all future encounters with her will lead to the Greens ending up in mortal peril. Yet, because of her immense wealth, she will never face any consequences. As you'll recall, Season 1 featured rather open discussion about the effects of gentrification, which made sense since it was all about the Greens adjusting to an environment so unfamiliar to them. A theme that continues to remain ever-present.
I feel like the current Green family farm is, well...
Penned inwardly by the steel monoliths of our industrialized urban landscape, unable to grow or expand within a wrought iron cage that predetermines exactly how far we are allowed to advance.
With the social commentary angle of the series being expanded upon greatly. We've already talked about the depiction of tech billionaires, but this season also contains a scathing takedown of the fast food industry and multiple explorations of influencer culture. Now, I know the mere mention of a TV show touching on these topics is enough to make people brace for impact, but there's more to these types of stories than messages like phone is bad. To draw another comparison to classic Simpsons, both shows touch upon these hot button issues, but package them within these meaningful character stories. In Level Up, written and storyboarded by Raj Brueggemann and Steve Wolfhard, Bill becomes addicted to a farming simulator in order to explore how people can be completely consumed by this stuff through the steady hits of dopamine, which traps players in a cycle of constantly chasing that brief sense of accomplishment into oblivion because they will never be fully satisfied.
And there's so much more to unlock. I just gotta keep leveling up by building my farm and advancing across the land. Until one day, it's an endless paradise. Oh, dang it! Got stuck on the roof again.
But these ideas are used to explore Bill's insecurities in relation to his livelihood, realizing that because of the limited land available to them, they'll never be able to expand, meaning they've already essentially reached the limit of how much they'll be able to grow. So of course he becomes enveloped in a virtually endless digital space that will allow him to keep expanding indefinitely.
Back in the country, I had the space to grow and be successful. But I lost that farm and have been running in place ever since. There's just no room for me to level up.
And it has a beautiful ending where the family figures out a way to expand by putting some planter beds on top of Big Coffee, provided they receive some of the proceeds, once more showing how the true strength of the Greens is their ability to adapt and overcome. Though the topical episode that has caught more ire than any other is Ding Dongers, written and storyboarded by Amy Hudkins and Steve Wolfhard, which is a commentary on the rise in short-form video content and how the prominence of social media in our lives has had a fundamental impact on our capacity for empathy. The youth of Big City become invested in a TikTok-like app that leaves them all scrambling to gain any clout, mostly shown through Remy, who gains the upper hand when he discovers Cricket is his golden goose, which he soon takes advantage of by placing his best friend in a variety of increasingly dangerous stunts. And Cricket goes along with them all due to his high pain tolerance and wanting to make Remy happy.
I'm verified!
Happy for you.
What could have come across as a desperate kids these days story uses these ideas to explore Remy and Cricket's friendship, where he has to recognise what his need for validation is doing to them and put a stop to it.
But wait, what about all your followers? What about the clouds? I don't care! Huh.
Hey, who invited this old guy?
And he doesn't get off scot-free for all the stuff he did before this either.
I'm sorry.
Oh, buddy. Come here. Ow.
Getting back to the family, Season 2 digs deeper into more of their individual history, from learning about what life was like for them in the country in episodes like Wildside to a flashback set 30 years ago depicting how Bill and Nancy first met as kids. One notable instance of this is Garage Tales, written and storyboarded by Kiana Can-Smith and Caldwell Tanner. Bill is trying to force Alice to get rid of some of her old possessions, convinced that she has a hoarding problem.
Hey, I put something in the maybe pile.
I'm a maybe baby.
Though spring cleaning is put on hold when the kids discover an old chest.
I took the liberty of picking the lock.
I taught you well.
Every item pulled from the trunk seems to have some wild story from Alice's youth attached, including treasure hunting in the pyramids, searching for the chupacabra in Mexico, and even becoming a secret agent, with the one constant being a mysterious and mild-mannered stranger she keeps crossing paths with. Throughout all the garage tales she spins, Bill grows more aggravated over how nothing Alice is saying was true, until the end when he finally realizes they were all embellishments of the story of how she met and fell in love with her late husband, Ernest.
Dad was a great guy, but he wasn't some swashbuckling hero.
He was to me.
It may not be anywhere near as heartbreaking as Phoenix Rises from last season, but it's still a bittersweet episode delving into the history of the Greens while continuing to acknowledge the hardships they face, with elements like Ernest not being able to afford an engagement ring, so instead he proposes with a family heirloom. But it didn't matter they want bounty-collecting espionage treasure hunters, because even without much money, they were able to build a happy life together, which is the note the episode closes out on. However, there's an even more emotionally charged story from early in Season 2, as this batch also gifts us its first 20-minute special with Green Christmas. This Yuletide musical was written and storyboarded by Amy Hudkins, Kiana Can-Smith, Caldwell Tanner, and Jonathan Wallach, marking the first in what is currently a trilogy of Big City Greens holiday episodes. The story reflects on all of Cricket's actions from Season 1 when he starts to worry that his bad behaviour may have gotten him bumped from Santa's nice list. As a result, he goes out of his way to perform as many good deeds as possible in the hopes that it'll get him back into St. Nick's good graces. But when an attempted plea with a mall Santa seemingly ruins any hope he had left, Cricket throws a destructive tantrum, deciding that if he can't have Christmas, nobody will. All while Tilly tries and fails to help him see the light. What I find so fascinating about this episode is how it's one of the first big examples of the expert way the series uses its strong continuity. By flashing back to a montage of Cricket's worst moments from the show thus far to essentially build a case against him, it prods the audience on whether or not they believe he is a good or bad person, as the story becomes this internal tug-of-war between his destructive tendencies and his sense of empathy as you wait to see which one will win out. And with this being the most introspective our characters have been up till this point, of course it makes sense to turn it into a musical. and a damn good one at that, as there is not a single weak link in this soundtrack. All 5, or 6 if you count the finale reprise, of the musical numbers are incredible compositions that do an excellent job of progressing the narrative. The best part of Christmas is a cozy opening number that serves to give the special a light-hearted beginning.
When we all gather round and trim the living room tree, and the dining table tree, and the bedroom tree, and the basement tree, and the secret tree, and the bathroom tree
Seriously,
too.
Dad?
Good Deeds Are Good Indeed is an energetic montage with a section of counterpoint duets between Cricket and Tilly that fully illustrates their philosophical differences. Though it doesn't hold a candle to Cricket's big villain number, If I Can't Have Christmas, which keeps growing in intensity and drama as his misdeeds get progressively worse, topped with some brilliant lyrics.
Revise advertisements and make folks obey them. This season's colors are mischief and mayhem.
This intensity then comes crashing down in the sobering Christmas Is Busted, where Tilly, who has spent the entire episode resolute in belief of her brother's goodness, has finally reached her breaking point and fully gives up on him.
I guess this was my fault, thinking there was hope for you. But now I see clearly that was never true.
Cricket's internal conflict and eventual moment of redemption is communicated in No Christmas at All, which builds to the resolution where he confides in what is clearly a hallucination of Santa brought on by both his guilt and impending hypothermia from the ongoing blizzard.
All I want is for Tilly to be put back on the nice list.
Interesting. If that's what you want, Cricket, I'll see what I can do.
Oh, and Santa, can I also ask to be at home and out of this blizzard?
Oh, that sure does sound nice.
Santa?
I consider this one of the best animated Christmas specials of the last decade, even outside of the stellar music. I've gotta mention the breathtaking backgrounds of Big City Covered in Snow, which were designed by Dylan Foreman, Stephen Lothwaite, Joseph McGorry, and Matthew Phoebes, while they were painted by Angela Lee and Bree Newman. But ultimately, what I always come back to is the simple genius behind this concept. Using the idea of Santa and his list as a means to fully deconstruct the show's main character, creating this somber yet ultimately uplifting story about what it means to be a good person. It may not be the best part of Christmas, but it's pretty dang close.
Merry Christmas, one and
Merry Christmas!
I'd say the biggest challenge going into Season 2 is how the series starts to slowly lose that fish out of water element, which, to be fair, was always going to be inevitable. Because while there still remains a decent amount of culture clash between the Greens and Big City, the further we get into the show, and the more acclimated the family becomes to life in this environment, the more it's all gonna start to feel comfortable to them. So in place of those types of stories, the series begins to lean more heavily into secondary character spotlights, adding further dimensions to them, which in some cases was sorely needed. In Season 1, Remy was clearly the most focused on secondary character, as Cricket's best friend who soon forms a strong connection with every member of the Green family. But while Zeno Robinson delivers a fantastic, likeable performance, and there were some great Remy storylines, notably DIY Guys and Cricket Shoes, a majority of the time he struggled to step out of his role as the best friend. So I was delighted when I saw that Season 2 addresses this issue by expanding on his complicated relationship with his parents and giving us more insight into his life outside of the Greens, exploring all the expectations and pressure that he has to deal with. Time Crisis, written and storyboarded by Jen Begerman and Ariel Vrackenharrell, is a surprisingly poignant story about what happens when life doesn't work out as you planned, in which Remy stresses about his upcoming violin recital as we learn he has planned out his entire life in extensive detail, with his performance tonight being the linchpin that will set him up for his predetermined future.
This single sheet of music will determine my future.
So what are these other sheets gonna do?
What? There's more?
All his catastrophizing over this soon even starts to rub off on Cricket, who has no long-term ambitions because he's 10. Remy continues to spiral, which takes the form of a stunning fantasy sequence till the moment of truth arrives, where he ends up choking and believes his life is over. Though it turns out to not be so bad, as while he may not have made first chair in the orchestra like he planned, he did end up making third chair. This is not only a fantastic Remy story, but a necessary message for everyone to hear. From the moment we start education, there is a pressure to quickly figure out what our plans in life are, or else we'll get left behind. The idea that you must pick a single path and stick to it, or else you'll be seen as a failure. But that isn't reality. We put so much stock into certain moments of our lives that we assign this greater importance to, only to fall to pieces when we come up short. I fell into this trap multiple times. I'd meticulously map out my entire life, and then when I couldn't reach my goals, I'd simply come up with a new, equally unrealistic plan. According to 18-year-old me, I should have made my West End debut by this point. Instead, I realised how deeply unhappy I was on that path, and decided to leave it all behind. Now, for the first time, I'm living without a plan, and taking time to figure out who I am and what I actually want. Not achieving the thing that you worked so hard for is crushing, but it isn't the end of the world, because you then have to wake up the next day and figure out how to move forward.
Yeah, I guess the future's kind of a surprise, huh, Remy?
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, and that actually makes the future kind of exciting. I mean, who knows where we'll end up?
Yeah, who knows?
Though if we're gonna give out an award for the character I feel improved the most between seasons 1 and 2, it'd have to go to Tilly. In the first stretch of season 1, Tilly was the only main character who took a while to fully come together. While the crew seemed to have an intimate understanding of who Cricket, Bill and Alice were from day one, Tilly was much more of a puzzle to figure out because of how she often exists in her own separate world from everyone else, leading to plenty of memorable moments for her in the comedy department.
Tilly!
Though it doesn't feel like she becomes fully realised until towards the end of the season. And to a degree, I think the writers knew this on some level, because not only does Tilly receive a greater frequency of starring roles in season 2, but these stories somewhat address those previous issues with her characterization, as they tend to mainly revolve around her actively trying to figure out her identity as she grows up, making for some of the season's highlights. Tilly Style, written and storyboarded by Raj Brueggemann and Steve Wolfhard, sees Nancy and her daughter attempt to spend some quality time at the mall so Tilly can find a new, more mature look after she's made to feel self-conscious about her appearance. However, in her efforts to be seen as older, Tilly goes off the deep end.
Buy, buy, buy! Then sell the buy, then buy it back, slap a bow on it, and sell it again!
Her desperate need for others to respect her reaches its apex when she eventually masquerades as a senior citizen.
Here, have a hard candy.
Okay, first off, this is a rock.
The episode is not only a very hard-hitting lesson about doing stuff for yourself instead of other people, but a commentary on how society pressures children, especially young girls, to present themselves as older. It also provides us with another example of Nancy growing as a parent by showing Tilly her first tattoo and the story behind it as a teachable moment.
You're the most mature girl I've ever known, so who cares if some people are too dumb to see it?
The episode ends with Tilly deciding to do something for herself by getting her ears pierced, which was hinted at earlier.
So, Tilly, how do you feel?
Well, I feel pretty great. Thanks, Mama.
You're gonna keep them covered up?
Yep, I got 'em for me, not for others.
And this is a permanent change, as in future episodes, we will occasionally see Tilly's studs make quick appearances here and there, a symbol of how impactful this day was for her. Season 2 has a lot more really great Tilly episodes, showcasing her strong principles, exploring more of her feelings towards her family, and her role as Cricket's big sister.
Need any help defeating your hay bale ninjas?
Oh no, I don't need violence. I peer pressured the Hay Ninjas into self-destructive behavior. They dropped out of school to start a rock and roll band.
But my other favourite Tilly episode in this run is OK Karaoke, written and storyboarded by Farron Pearl and Ariel Vrackin Harrell. The show's second musical episode, after the Christmas special blew that element of the series wide open, follows the Greens and Remy attending a karaoke bar where everyone has their own tailored number covering a variety of music eras and genres. All once again expertly composed by Joachim Horsley. Bill sings a country rock love song about his pickup truck, Nancy chooses rebellious punk,
Thanks, everyone. Hope you had as much fun as I did.
Alice opts for a classic swing number, while Cricket and Remy perform an aggressively modern techno piece. That leaves Tilly, who has spent the entire episode in decision paralysis, struggling to find a song she feels truly represents her. This isn't helped by either the host, who put this idea in her head to begin with, or the other participants who grow agitated over Tilly taking so long to decide, which overstimulates her to a point of locking herself in the bathroom.
I know it's silly, but I just wanted to find a way to truly express myself. You all got to sing songs that were perfect for you, but no matter how hard I look, I just can't find a song that's me.
But with some help from Cricket, she realises her perfect song doesn't exist, or at least it won't until she creates it. So instead of performing something pre-written, she decides to give an improvised a cappella performance, where she expresses her feelings of often feeling out of place and how she copes with them by following the beat of her own drum. It's a pitch-perfect moment of characterization for the Green family member who took a while to find her place, but across the second season grew into one of the show's most compelling and dynamic players.
Yeah, it feels so good to sing along to Tilly's song.
When it comes to an episodic series that doesn't rely too heavily on plot twists or long-form story arcs for its continued momentum, one of the ways it can withhold the audience's attention is by experimenting with high-concept premises that push the boundaries of the show's storytelling. And Big City Greens Season 2 has no shortage of these. Notable examples include a send-up to the film A Quiet Place, where the Greens have to stay silent while visiting the library, or else they'll be hunted down by the terrifying librarians, which features an accurate depiction of sign language.
I love you.
There's an episode about Cricket listening to his family sleep-talking as we view their individual dreams that all slowly become twisted into nightmares. There's one told entirely from Phoenix's perspective, where she has to stop a power-hungry and pie-hungry rooster voiced by Alfred Molina from taking over the farm, and an episode that explores the idea of the butterfly effect by following a chain reaction that takes us throughout the city, giving us small vignettes into the lives of many secondary and tertiary characters, akin to something like 22 short films about Springfield.
Tonight on Alexander Kitchen. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I have to do something with this. The judges are screaming at me to hurry up. I can barely hear myself think.
Though other two format-bending episodes are of a different ilk, as these episodes focus on meta-humor that lightly taps the fourth wall. Animation Abomination, written and storyboarded by Raj Bergman and Kristen Gish, sees Tilly tour the studio where her favourite cartoon is made, where she tries to save the season finale after Cricket tampers with it by adding a twist that makes no logical sense. It's a satirical and ever so slightly exaggerated look into the animation process that definitely doesn't feel like the creative team venting frustration about the state of the industry.
You have 15 seconds left to finish storyboard.
Never mind, just hit the deadline!
Hey guys, how's the board looking?
And while maybe not intentional, I do believe the conflict between Cricket and Tilly here touches upon a very prevalent issue with how media is created in the age of the modern internet. We live in a time where trending on social media is all that companies care about, which has led to certain creators who become so obsessed with this idea of outsmarting their audience that they take the story in a direction that not only makes no logical sense, but retroactively ruins the entire story leading up to that point. It also speaks to how focus groups work, where Tilly's loving and thoughtful perspective on her favourite show is given just as much weight as Cricket, who knows nothing about the series. But there is one thing I can't get over that makes this episode completely unrealistic. There is no way that a studio would ever take unsolicited ideas from a fan, especially not without making them sign a contract to ensure they don't have to pay them and will not be sued for it.
I'm intrigued. Let's talk it out over lunch.
I'm starved.
The other meta episode is quite infamous because it single-handedly created a small hatedom around the show from people who'd never seen it. The episode in question is called Cheap Show, and pokes fun at the idea of a bottle episode, which is an episode of a TV show that takes place entirely in pre-established locations with a small number of characters as a cost-cutting measure, so that few new assets have to be created. A very well-known example of this is a clip show, because
why go on new adventures when you can remember the old ones?
Written and storyboarded by Caldwell Tanner and Kiana Can-Smith, the story is about the Greens trying to have a quiet night in while a street fair is happening outside because they can't afford to go.
Our production costs have been through the roof lately.
Production costs?
Yeah, that's what I call money we spend on producing fun for ourselves. You know, things like restaurants, movies, fancy shoes that a certain someone never wears.
I just don't want to get them dirty.
A while after this episode came out, a post went viral on animation Twitter complaining about modern cartoons breaking the fourth wall, including various clips as examples. Funny to think this person was so angry they simply had to spend their time and energy compiling all these clips and editing them together just to show other people how angry they are, but hey, that's the internet for you. I can't remember every single clip featured, though I'm fairly sure it did have some Gumball and OKKO thrown in there. What I do remember is that that compilation contained a disproportionate amount of clips from this episode, as if the user had some sort of personal vendetta. People who had never seen the show, and would have likely never paid any attention to it were it not for that post, hated those out-of-context clips from a single episode, and now, all of a sudden, Big City Greens was public enemy number 1 in the cartoon community. And because the show was already so overlooked in those spaces, there weren't really that many defending it. And I'm not claiming this episode is some kind of masterpiece. I admit, the fourth wall breaking and regular winks to the camera does border on the obnoxious at times, but it's still got the same charm and sharp dialogue as the rest of the show. They will never make me hate Tilly's storyboard sequence.
A man ran up to me with a briefcase. He said something in Japanese.
And that ending is so dumb that it gets me every time, where the show immediately spends all the money they just supposedly saved, and knowing it was recorded over the phone is the cherry on top.
Kids, look, a celebrity!
Hey, Green family, it's me, Tom Hanks. I'm about to go on an incredible adventure and I'd love to have you all come along with me. What do you say?
Just over halfway through Season 1 of Big City Greens, they aired the episodes Phoenix Rises and Uncaged, which made major changes to the show's status quo that were previously foreshadowed and demonstrated how emotionally resonant it had the power to be, making these drawings feel the most human they had up till that point. And Season 2 attempts to do something similar, but on a much grander scale with the episodes Chipwrecked and Chipocalypse Now. Chip Whistler is introduced early into the show during the episode Supermarket Scandal, written and storyboarded by Ben Adams and Rebecca Scheuer. Voiced by Paul Scheer, Chip is an out-of-touch, self-absorbed nepo baby who runs the extortionately priced organic grocery store, Wholesome Foods, and eventually becomes the show's main villain. His initial run-in with the Greens sees him attempt to strike up a deal to sell their produce, which Bill turns down because they simply don't have enough supply to meet the demand. So Cricket goes behind his father's back and takes Chip up on his offer, decorating other objects to resemble food, and then has to undo his mistake by buying back every fake item, spending all the money he made in the deal. Though he is able to turn it around when he realizes they can simply sell the fake fruits to people who want to appear healthier than they actually are. Until Chip shows up and takes a bite of one of the apples, the first instance of his most defining attribute, where his defeats always end with him being injured in some way that creates a gap in his front teeth.
I'm gonna get you for this, Greens, or my name is Chip Whistler!
It's interesting returning to Chip's introduction and seeing that while the show makes it clear how scummy he is as a person, it doesn't outright portray him as a villain. Though that would soon change in his other two appearances in Season 1, which establish an ongoing rivalry with Cricket, where the show discusses the struggles of small businesses against the soulless corporations trying to stomp them out. And it's these episodes that demonstrate just how loathsome Chip truly is. Season 2 ups the ante, where his plans stem less from corporate greed and more a desire to destroy the Greens and or their livelihood, nearly ruining his own business in the process, which is the focus of the episode Reckoning Ball, written and storyboarded by Anna O'Brien and Ariel Vrackin-Harrell. There's an argument to be made that the way Chip blames all his own failings on the Greens is an allegory for how the rich and powerful create scapegoats to pin the blame on for all the problems that they actively cause, orchestrating a continued divide in the 99% to prevent the public from realizing how easy it would be to rise up and take back that power if they became unified. That's the end of that sentence. I'm also deeply intrigued by the parallels between Chip and Cricket, where the two had completely different upbringings, yet there are some disturbing similarities, with Chip essentially being a warning over what could become of Cricket were his greed and selfishness left unchecked. You go back to those Season 1 appearances, and it is shocking when you realise just how alike the two were back then. It really highlights how much development Cricket has already undergone even this early into the show's run, as the two become intrinsically linked. The more that Cricket grows, the further Chip falls. Chip's storyline in Season 2 builds to episode 20B, Chipwrecked, written and storyboarded by Raj Brueggemann and Steve Wolfhard. For the most part, it is a fairly unassuming plot where Cricket tricks his family into doing his job at Big Coffee so he can slack off. In the background though, Chip continues his ineffective attempts to ruin them, where a point is made to show how the Greens view him as little more than an occasional nuisance.
Chip, you're a joke. We all know how this goes. First you make a goofy little plan, it fails, you chip your tooth, and then I come out on top. Bingo bango.
Once again, we see the show acknowledging its own conventions before fully breaking them, as Chip realizes he can use the power and resources of his company to enact a hostile takeover of Big Coffee, shutting it down to make way for a new Wholesome Foods location. Cricket and Gloria lose their jobs, destroying one of the show's longest running storylines, and it's clear his expansion won't stop there, closing out the second part of Season 2 on feelings of dread and uncertainty.
Chip can't win. It can't end like this!
And yet, it just did.
From here, Big City Greens would go on winter hiatus, returning 4 months later with its most ambitious episode yet, Chipocalypse Now, written and storyboarded by Caldwell Tanner, Kiana Cansmith, Farron Pearl, and Ariel Vrackin-Harrell. A special that brought together every element of the season so far and truly demonstrates what this show is capable of. Chip reveals he now also owns the apartment complex next door, displacing all the Greens' neighbours in an effort to close in on the family till they too are forced out of their home. All of the family's attempts to fight back prove entirely ineffective, as even Gloria has become an employee of Wholesome Foods because she has no other choice.
I thought we were family.
Do I need to remind you that your feud with Chip is the reason Big Coffee got shut down? I don't need family right now. I need a job.
And to make matters worse, Chip has already obtained permission from the city to demolish the Greens' house, giving them 1 day to vacate the premises, as Bill is fully prepared to roll over and give up, having gone through this whole thing before. Turns out the reason they lost their farm prior to the series was also because of corporate greed, when Big Dairy moved in and slowly ran them out of business. And the night Nancy was arrested was her trying to sabotage the factory to save their farm. Revealing all these major life events we learned about in Season 1 are connected, and tying it into what's happening now as a way to show how the system is fully stacked against them. Especially since Chip claims to have started an online petition with a majority of Big City supporting the Greens' home being destroyed.
Oh, let's see it.
No, this is for mine and the mayor's peepers only. Aw, what's wrong? You mad? You want to see? Mwah, mwah, mwah.
He's kissing the computer!
Yoink. Hey!
When Nancy tries to take a look at the supposed petition, she is immediately arrested once again. Because remember kids, the police are not your friends. No matter how nice they want you to think they have no obligation to protect citizens, as their actual job is to uphold the status quo for the rich and powerful. Before Nancy was caught, she was able to forward the petition to Bill, where the family is stunned over the discovery that many of the signatures are from their own friends, making them question if people don't like them, calling back to how they were often treated by the general populace at the start of the show. But Cricket is betrayed when he sees one of the signatures is none other than Remy and goes to confront him.
I didn't sign any petition. This must be fake.
Well, if that's true, that means Chip lied to us. Oh, actually, that makes a lot of sense.
Confused about what to do next, the kids find a way to reconvene with Nancy thanks to some help from Vasquez, who tells them their only chance at saving their home is getting inside Chip's office and finding proof that he faked the petition.
But what if it backfires? We don't want to make things worse for you.
Hey, don't worry about me. It hurts to be away from y'all, but it would hurt even more to just stand by while some dingleberry like Chip tramples all over the people I love. If we go down, at least we go down swinging.
Thankfully, breaking into Chip's office won't be that much of an issue, since he's currently preoccupied, showing up at the house with a wrecking crew because he just couldn't wait till morning to tear it down. Though Cricket and Remy are soon discovered by Gloria, who gets her moment of redemption when she helps them get into Chip's office and tries to hold off security, as a way to show how much her and Cricket's friendship has grown.
So I guess this means I'm fired, huh?
Down we go! Success! Ooh, ow, 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 glass.
The fight on the front yard continues to grow more violent, naturally alerting the media, who captures Tilly's attempts to convince Bill not to give up and broadcasts it across the city.
Maybe we are just the little guys, but if we stand together as a family, we have a real chance to turn things around. And I won't give up on our home while there's still a chance. Isn't our family worth fighting for?
Not only does this finally inspire Bill to take a stand, but makes the entire city aware of what's happening as they all show up to stand with the Greens. As the cowardly and spineless Mayor Hancock immediately caves to public pressure, stopping the demolition, declaring everything has to be put back the way it was, and hereby banning Chip from Big City.
Yeah, we did it!
Cricket Green, you've made a fool of me for the last time!
With nothing left to lose, Chip snaps in a bloodthirsty rampage trying to mow down the Greens with his helicopter. And just like all his other plans, in the end it's his massive ego and unrelenting obsession that proves to be his undoing.
No!
Well, Chip, looks like you're the one who doesn't belong in Big City.
Why you?
Bingo, bango. And that's how you launch a chicken into space.
This special was such a game changer for the series that in many ways feels like a conclusion to its introductory period. It calls back to the tragic history of the family, shows off the impressive strength of the show's continuity with plenty of references to previous episodes, including the pilot, and has Big City come around to fully accept the Greens, an event that was slowly built up across multiple stories and feels entirely earned. There's a good mix of tender moments and well-executed drama that still doesn't betray the series' overall focus on comedy, while also giving all the characters these triumphant moments that put the sheer talent of this voice cast on full display, accompanied by a masterful score by series composer Joachim Horsley. It's a beautiful payoff to all 50 of the previous episodes that truly cemented the series as a mainstay for modern animation, leaving a lasting impact on the series that is still felt to this day.
Good to have everything exactly back to the way it was.
Oh, hey, Gloria. Good to see you. What are you doing?
Well, I lost both of my jobs because of this crazy family, and I can't afford to live in my apartment anymore, so I'll be living here for a while. And I don't want to hear anything about it.
From this point forward, around every 10 or so episodes, there will be some moderate change to the status quo that will significantly impact the following stories, with the biggest changes typically occurring around 2/3 of the way through a season. An approach I greatly admire and believe is yet another thing that makes Big City Greens stand out from other shows, especially other slice-of-life comedies, since you'd more commonly expect that sort of stuff to be saved for a season finale. But with this structure, the show is able to explore those new ideas immediately rather than leave the audience hanging for an unspecified amount of time. The final stretch of Season 1 saw the introduction of Nancy, and here we have something similar with Gloria moving in and essentially being promoted to main character status. A development I could not be more thrilled about. Gloria is an incredibly special character because she represents a perspective not often covered in animation. Being fresh out of college and stuck doing miserable jobs just to make ends meet while questioning if you'll ever truly have it figured out. In Season 1, I labelled her a mouthpiece for workers in the service industry, and that still rings true. But I think what makes her feel so viscerally real to so many is that you can tell it is the crew members using her to speak on their own life experience. A struggling artist trying to make their way in the world. And this only becomes more clear with all her various Spotlight episodes both before and after Chipocalypse now. Elevator Action, written and storyboarded by Anna O'Brien, sees Gloria contemplate moving away from Big City after realising how much everyone else seems to have their lives figured out, and worries she has fallen behind. But on her way to hand in the key to her apartment, she gets trapped in a glass elevator with the Greens.
Well, I get it, Gloria. We had a hard time when we first moved here, too. I mean, we're still adjusting, but it gets better every day.
That's easy for you to say. You're a family. You have each other. No one's here to support me. I'm failing and I'm all alone.
Before Gloria has a chance to leave the key, she notices her car is about to be towed after her parking meter ran out, only to rush outside and find the family fending off the truck as she realises she does have people looking out for her, deciding to try and stick it out a little while longer after finding a new appreciation for the Greens.
Thanks so much for helping me unpack.
Of course.
Happy to help.
I'll bill you later.
Hey, quiet down over there!
No, you quiet down!
Oh, sorry.
Got your back, Gloria.
And this development is significant later on when Gloria sacrifices everything to help the Greens save their home, leading to her moving into their basement, something that is marked by a new permanent alteration to the title sequence. Her new living situation is immediately explored in the very next episode, Rent Control, written and storyboarded by Raj Brueggemann, Anna O'Brien, and Monica Ray, where it's revealed Gloria has been lying to her parents about her life in Big City because of their ridiculous expectations for her.
Did you hear about your cousin Emily? She just bought a house.
Emily! Wow, that is crazy, because I bought one too.
But now she needs the Greens' help to keep up the illusion when her parents reveal they're in town and invite themselves over for a visit, to a point where she starts trying to pass off Remy's mansion as her house.
And over here is my... It came with the frame.
Big frame.
Nice frame.
But in an interesting spin on how these stories usually play out, The Lie is a complete success, with the truth only being revealed when Gloria reaches her breaking point with how she's treated. But in finally being honest about how much she is struggling, Gloria forges a much better relationship with her parents.
You've done well, Gloria. You're surrounded by good people.
And we know you are doing your best.
We're both really, really proud of you.
Aw, Mom, that felt so good to hear!
Yes. Now quit slouching.
All of Gloria's episodes this season do a fantastic job continuing to flesh her out into perhaps one of the most relatable characters currently on TV. Much like the Greens, it never shies away from just how much life can suck, especially in your 20s. But through this small story arc, it reiterates the importance of remembering that it's okay to admit you need help every now and then, which is nowhere more evident than in the Season 2 finale, Gloria's Cafe, written and storyboarded by Ariel Vakin-Harrell and Farron Pearl. Ever since Big Coffee closed and the building was rebuilt, it has sat mostly vacant, until now. Gloria is ready to fully go after her dream of opening a Parisian-style cafe, though is unable to secure a bank loan and is once more devastated. Not wanting to give up on her dream or disappoint the Greens after all the support they've given her, Gloria decides to run an illegal underground cafe where Big Coffee used to be, just until she can make enough money to actually rent the space. Though the stress of having to keep it a secret from her adoptive family, along with hiding from the police, quickly gets to Gloria till she reveals the truth, where she is immediately busted.
The profits from your illegal coffee stand were just about enough to cover all the fines for your trespassing.
Gloria has hit her lowest point, which is saying something given how often she's been put through the ringer this season. And Alice, who has spent the entire episode doubting Gloria and telling her she doesn't have what it takes, seems fully ready to lay into her until...
It takes a lot of passion and cleverness to run a business, and you've proven you got the grit of a real Green, which is why I want to make you an offer.
Offer?
I got a bit of money squared away for my retirement, and I'd like to use it to invest in your business. Plus, I can supply you with some free labor.
Hey, Alice,
Well, are you just gonna stand there sobbing, or are you gonna make a decision?
Thank you.
All right, no need to get mushy now.
In a season centered around the idea of small businesses versus greedy corporations, it's the perfect way to close out this run of episodes. Having things finally turn around for this character who previously could never catch a break, as we see her find a way to fulfill her dream with the help and experience of the Greens, as you really feel the reward of this arduous journey you've been on with them.
Oh hey, new cafe! You must be Gloria Green!
No, it's Gloria plus Green. My name isn't... Oh, forget it.
Season 2 of Big City Greens narrowed in on what worked so well about Season 1, while also taking active steps to not only acknowledge its flaws, but significantly improve on them. We'd already seen how this show was ready to fully embrace change, but these episodes brought that to a whole other level, as the characters and world continue to evolve over time and constantly open up new story possibilities. I mentioned how a second season is the most important for a long-running show, and Big City Greens took that challenge head on, planting seeds for things that are still being paid off 5 years later. And looking back now, a lot of these stories continue to stand tall as some of the very best episodes they've ever done, including many that I couldn't find a place to talk about, like Believer, Wildside, Grandma Driver, Present Tense, Hurt Bike, and The Van. But we do have to move on eventually, so join me in early 2026, hopefully, so we can examine Season 3, which also happens to be my favourite, where Bill is consumed by toxic positivity, Cricket feels insecure about his intelligence, Tilly butts heads with Alice over family traditions, and the series takes its greatest risk yet in a move that somewhat allows the series to start growing up with its audience.
We were able to come up with an ending that has something for everyone. Now let's see what the fans on the internet think.
If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to comment down below and subscribe, as well as hype the video, because I guess that's the thing we're doing now. I also have a Patreon where I post new videos early, as well as exclusive bonus videos. Links will be down below. Until next time folks, I've been the Gliding Gladiator, and I'll see ya real soon.